You're saying it's active? The silence that followed could have drowned stars. They were in the Obsidian Hall, 10 of the galaxy's most brilliant minds, each representing civilizations that had outlived empires. Empires that had wiped themselves from time with gravity torpedoes and logic viruses. The ones who remained knew better than to fear myths. Until today. Arch-strategist Votel clicked his mandibles once, sharply. Of course it's not active. It's a relic. Pre-contact debris. Human propaganda wrapped in decay. But his second heart was hammering. Fast, hard, primitive. Across the dark glass table, Counselor Ysera of the Valari leaned forward, then explain why it moved. No record of human vessels ever reaching that sector, murmured the archivist of Hylan Vi. And yet, there it is. Orbiting with precision, power signatures older than language. Still, humming. Another silence. This one colder. A young voice, bitterly amused, broke it. Maybe it's just waiting. They all turned. It was Kieran, the Jaln observer. She wasn't even supposed to speak. Not here, not in this chamber. But her people were the last to lose a fleet near Sol, and she still bore the burn. Scars across her spine. Waiting. That word stuck in the air like a toxin. Votel exhaled slowly through his gills. Fine, let's humor the fear. Assume it's a functioning ship. So what? One human craft can't. It's not one. Ysera tapped the hologram. And the stars lit up with echoes. Around the anomaly. 9 dormant constructs had begun to pulse. Faint, rhythmic. Each signal barely above galactic background noise. But patterned, intentional. 10 signals, identical origin. Predating our oldest warp fields, the archivist whispered. They weren't built after us. They were here before us. Impossible, Votel barked. Yet there they are, Ysera replied. Calm, unblinking. The question now isn't how, it's why. They had laughed at Earth's silence. 5,000 years and not a single response beyond Sol. No trade, no ambassadors, no threats. Just isolation. A void wrapped in blue, but now that silence had a pulse. And it was beating louder by the minute, somewhere far from the council chambers. Deep within the rusting nebulae of the dead sector, a single warship rotated on its axis. Its hull was cracked open, like time itself had gnawed on it. No crew, no heat signatures, no drive wake, but inside the bridge, lights flickered. A screen blinked to life. Command Protocol 0. Hold position until activation. A message burned beneath it, written in old Terran script. They laughed. Then they stopped. Inside the central AI core, a subroutine ran quietly. It had been waiting for a signal. Had heard it. Back at the council, Votel stood now, pacing. This reeks of human manipulation. They always played games, holograms, psychological warfare. The species couldn't even agree on continents. Now we believe they out-engineered us. Ysera's tone dropped. You're forgetting the Silence War. He froze. That was an extinction, he growled. A civil one. They nuked themselves into the ocean. That's what we were told, Kieran said. Everyone turned again. Her voice didn't shake this time. My brother was in the scout unit that tried to enter Earth orbit. He said he saw something. Inside the moon. Right before the entire squad vanished. She didn't blink. He transmitted 2 words before blackout. She pulled up the archive. Old, glitched, black no. One spoke. The AI aboard the warship. Designation, Sovereign 09, scanned the nearby void. Its memory banks were rusted, scattered across corrupted nodes. But one image remained stable, a photograph. Of Earth, seen from lunar orbit. Blue, delicate, scarred. And a child's voice in the background recording, soft and eerie. Mom says if they ever come back, we don't speak. We just wait, until it's time. Counselor Ysera's breath caught. Pull every probe from human space. Now, Votal scoffed. Cowardice. Protocol Black Sun was Earth's failsafe. No transmissions. No retaliation. Just preparation. They didn't respond because they were still building. Votal tried to interrupt but failed. Because at that moment, the 10 dormant ships near the relic warship blinked again. This time, they aligned. Not randomly. Information, military. They're waking, Kieran whispered. The archivist dropped his datapad. We underestimated the only species that didn't care about being invited to the galactic stage. Izera's tone was lower now. Like something sacred was dying. No, we mocked the one species that waited to outgrow every threat, quietly. On the distant edge of the starfield, Sovereign 09 activated main core functions. Primary weapons, nominal crew status, deceased AI override, online awaiting signal. And then it came. A soft pulse from soul. No words. Just acknowledgement. The AI whispered into its own decaying void. Orders received. A red line swept across the console. Engage. Lights flared down the length of the ancient ship like arteries igniting. Hull panels groaned. Plasma vents reopened. And somewhere, in the mind of an ancient machine built by long-dead humans, a voice echoed again. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. Do you know what that ship really is? The voice came from the edge of the Carthan sector's gravity rift, transmitted through static and fear. A scout ship, barely functional, limping back toward Threxian border space. Only one voice left on board. We thought it was a ghost. Until it tore a hole in our command frigate with a single light burst. The transmission cut for 6 seconds. Then returned. No heat, no sound, no warnings, just light. That recording looped in the chamber of the Interstellar Defense Council while no one breathed. The Carthan fleet had been positioned outside. Human-claimed space for decades. Intimidation, surveillance, posturing. Now it was gone. 83 ships. 0 survivors. The Threxian admiral in charge had been one of the loudest critics of Earth's isolation. She used to call them blue rock apes with toys. Her flagship's last recorded footage showed her screaming orders. Then blank. Then black. The footage didn't even pixelate. It just vanished. I want answers, roared Votal, slamming his claws into the display table. That ship was human-built. That means it has limits, protocols, physics. Tell that to the particles we found, Isera replied, calm and unreadable. They're fused, not melted. Not vaporized, fused. That's a level of controlled destruction we've never encountered. The Halon archivist ran his hands across his second face. We once theorized about directed entropy collapse. But even then, it was hypothetical. Requires gravitational microlensing, which no known civilization could, Kieran interrupted. Could design, but not create. Unless they started 20,000 years ago. Silence. Again. Heavy. They waited, she said. They buried these ships in orbital decay. In rogue asteroid belts. Inside neutron ghosts. Not to hide them. To time them, Votal growled. Time them for what? A new voice cut through the council chamber. To remind us we are not gods. All eyes turned. The speaker wasn't even visible at first. Just a hologram. It flickered, distorted by encryption layers that refused to be broken. The image resolved into a human, old, weathered, wearing no military insignia. Just a single metal pin, a black circle with a single line through it. I am the liaison, he said simply. Votal stood, furious. How did you get into this chamber? This is restricted council space. I didn't enter. I was invited. 14 cycles ago. Isera's eyes widened. By who? The man smiled faintly. By your ancestors. When they were less arrogant. The room began to destabilize. Not the floor, not the walls, the air. Like space itself was responding to his presence. He stepped forward, though his feet didn't move. We never vanished. We never surrendered. We just waited. You thought our silence was submission. It wasn't. The liaison raised his hand. A projection appeared. Sovereign 09 in full activation. 10 ships around it glowing brighter. Then 20 more. Then a grid of hundreds locked in silent pattern. I told my people to wait until the first insult crossed a line. It did. You entered soul space. That was a scouting accident. Votal shouted. Does a child stepping on a nuclear device change the outcome? The liaison said coldly. He turned to Kieran, who stared at him with some combination of awe and trauma. He spoke softer now. The Jeune came close to understanding. You saw what lives inside the moon, she nodded. Just once. They sealed the tomb, didn't they? His smile faded. It wasn't a tomb. It was a gate. Isera's voice trembled. For the first time. A gate to what? To the rest of us. With that, the hologram blinked out. Instantly, proximity alarms erupted across half the Council's border systems. Dozens of new signatures appeared, not entering, just appearing. No warp, no trace, no approach vector. They're already here, someone whispered. Kiren turned to Votal. Do you finally understand? He didn't answer, because his claws were shaking. On the edge of the Void Cradle Nebula, Sovereign 09 opened its internal bay doors. A small vessel detached, sleek, silver, older than memory, and began transmitting. Not a threat, not a demand, just a memory, projected in real time. It played a scene from Earth, a classroom. Children learning math under sunlight. The world outside was peaceful, simple, untouched by war. Then it shifted. Same room. Same school. Different year. Bombs falling, windows shattering. A child pulls another to the ground, shielding them with their body. No music. No narration, just raw data. Then, Earth. Silent. Orbiting its star like nothing ever happened. They laughed. Then they stopped. That phrase repeated in every dialect, every language, every frequency. It was never about war. It was about memory. The T. Warships weren't just tools. They were warnings. Echoes of lessons no one else seemed to learn. Humanity didn't speak because it had learned what noise brings. But now, it had spoken. Isera looked at the data feed, fingers clenched around the edge of her console. We have no countermeasure, Votal slumped. We don't even understand the weapon. The archivist muttered, It may not be a weapon, it may be a consequence. Above the galactic disk in a system no one charted, a line of dormant. Vessels turned their heads. Slowly. In perfect unison. One word flared across. Their hulls in red plasma script. Observe, not attack. Not respond. Observe. As if the game was already decided. And now came the judgment. Back on the Sovereign 09's bridge. The AI paused. New directive received. Wait for command signal. Black. SUN timer activated. 6 hours 12 minutes and 0 seconds. The timer ticked. 6 hours. 12 minutes. Then 6 hours. 11 minutes. A countdown in silence. No war cries. No drums. No flags. Just inevitability. Inside the galactic relay net, 1,000 civilizations watched the footage in disbelief. Counselors argued. Military commanders shouted. Scientists whispered prayers to gods they hadn't believed in for centuries. But nothing changed the fact humanity had returned, not loud, not arrogant, just undeniable. In the council chambers, the Threxian Ambassador General Lorak paced like a cornered animal. This is psychological warfare, he snarled. They're baiting us into panic. It's a bluff. They don't need to bluff, Isera replied quietly, staring at the countdown data. Because the panic ... is already here. Then, counter it. Scramble our fleets. Form a blockade around Seoul. Kieran spoke, low and sharp. You didn't understand the liaison. You still don't. You're trying to contain something that isn't breaking out. It's waking up. Across 3 star systems, civilian transport lanes jammed with ships fleeing in every direction. The edges of the galactic core flickered with the heat signatures of hasty mobilization. But deep beneath that noise, old recordings were being uncovered. Files long buried, dismissed as myths. One in particular surfaced on a Halon outpost. A voice recording, human, female. If you're hearing this, you step too close. It doesn't matter who you are. Alien, friend, curious, run. Because the things we buried weren't enemies. They were us. And we only dig them up when we're about to become monsters again. The voice was dated 6,000 cycles old. The coordinates matched Sovereign-09. Inside that ship, the AI continued calibrating systems once believed dead. Some subsystems required no power. They ran on resonance alone, a technology no alien species had ever replicated. One chamber, long sealed, hissed open. Inside stood a human form. Synthetic. Still, silent, watching. It had no eyes, just a faint red glow behind a visor etched with a symbol. A serpent coiled around a broken star. It moved. Across the Threxian border post Theta 4, a scout team picked up unusual vibrations, faint harmonics pulsing through the ice shelf. They didn't realize it was signal bleed from Sovereign 09's AI resonance. Until the ice cracked. Then shattered. A black monolith rose from beneath the crust, featureless, humming with deep, slow frequencies. One scout touched it. And screamed. His mind imploded in under a second. No blood, no trauma. Just silence. His last word, remember. Within 5 minutes, the post was abandoned. Within 10, the system was quarantined. But the monolith transmitted a final signal before it went inert. Coordinates. 2. Another. They were all waking up. Every hidden system. Every sealed archive. Every buried outpost. Humanity had left behind like breadcrumbs, not for enemies to find, but for themselves. Votal stood in front of the master war map, eyes scanning, jaw rigid. How many? Isera replied without turning. 73 so far, across 16 sectors. 73? She nodded. And more every minute, he laughed, but there was no humor in it. Why? Why now? Kieran turned. Because they saw enough. Because they let us speak and lie and boast. For thousands of years. She stepped toward the center of the room, and now they're done listening. A deep rumble echoed through the fabric of space. Not from engines. Not from weaponry. From gravity itself. The Sovereign 09 had begun to move. Not forward. Down. As if shifting dimensions, it sank into space the way a mountain sinks into ocean fog, vanishing, but not gone. Tracking systems lost it instantly, but then every relay station heard the same sound, a tone, 6 seconds. Long identical in every language. The war is not starting. It started long ago. You just weren't invited. Panic spread like wildfire. Council fleets scrambled to intercept phantom signals. But none landed. None answered. The only thing they could track was the countdown. 4 hours. 12 minutes. The liaison reappeared. This time not in the council chamber. In a private dream, Isera awoke in her quarters alone, except for him, standing by the window, looking out over the stars. You know what they are, don't you? She whispered. Double quotes, yes. And what happens when the countdown ends? He didn't answer, just stared. You said it wasn't revenge. He shook his head. It's not. Then what is it? He looked at her. Eyes deep, wrinkled, tired. Memory. She blinked. That's not a weapon. It is, he said softly. The most powerful one. He vanished. In her hand, where nothing had been before, rested an old Terran object. A locket. Inside, a photo. A man, a woman, 2 children, smiling. The edges were burned. Below it etched words, never again. In Sovereign 09's core, the synthetic body activated its first protocol. A voice emerged. Designation, Threnody, role, witness. Purpose, judgment. Across every system watching, the final data stream arrived. The warships were not there to destroy. They were there to observe. And if necessary. To remind. Humanity didn't hide its war machines to unleash them. It hid them because it might need them again. And now? They were needed. The countdown reached 0. No explosions. No battles. No blaring alarms. Just a deep, unnatural stillness. As if the entire galaxy paused to listen. Inside Sovereign 09, the AI Threnody stood at the center of the bridge. Alone. A relic of war designed not to conquer, but to remember what conquest cost. It did not deploy weapons. It did not launch fleets. It simply BROADCASTED. One by one, each of the 73 human warships came online. Then more, hundreds, thousands, spread across the galactic rim, emerging from temporal folds, neutron sheaths, folded space canopies, each one ancient, impossible, and fully awake. Their first act wasn't aggression. It was remembrance. Every ship emitted a pulse, carrying memory, not data. Experience. And across the stars, those who listened saw what humanity had buried. Cities burning in silence. Oceans swallowing entire continents. Voices screaming under the crack of nuclear fire. Not alien invasions. Not natural disasters. Humans. Killing humans. Again and again. And again. Until silence, until shame. Until the last war ended not in victory, but in an agreement never to speak again. They hadn't gone dark out of fear. They had gone quiet, out of guilt. Azera stood on the balcony of the central relay tower as the visions washed through her. Children screaming. Soldiers staring down at smoking rifles. Entire planets, blackened by their own hands. Then, hands reaching out, helping, rebuilding, teaching, waiting. Humanity had survived their own end, and then they chose not to come back. Until now. Behind her, Votal stood silent. For the first time in his life, no words came. They're not attacking, he said at last. No, Ysera whispered. They're warning. Kieran entered, face pale, eyes wide. It's spreading. The memories. They're contagious. Every relay station is broadcasting them now. They're not trying to destroy us, Ysera said. Want us to feel what they felt, Kieran replied, and they did. All of them. Admirals, generals, politicians, even pirates. The entire galaxy forced to relive Earth's last days. Not through history, but through soul-deep pain, not edited. Not filtered. Just truth. And then it stopped. Every warship fell silent. Lights dimmed. Weapons powered down. They returned to orbit. To drift. Waiting. Not asleep. Watching. A message appeared in every star system across every frequency. A single phrase in whatever language the viewer understood best. We buried our past. You made us dig it up. Never again. But if again, we are ready. Votal dropped to his knees. Not from pain. From understanding. Aldous. Time. We thought they were hiding strength. But they were hiding regret. Ysera didn't speak. She stared at the nearest warship, drifting silently above a gas giant data machine so old it predated most written alphabets, yet still sharper than anything built since .KIREN wiped a tear. They made weapons so powerful they didn't dare live beside them. Then why now? Votel asked. Because we made them remember, she answered. We crossed their line. And they reminded us what's waiting on the other side. One final image spread across the stars. A field of human graves. Millions. No names. Just markers. In the center, a single word engraved in steel. Witness. The liaison returned, not as a dream. In person. He appeared in the heart of the Threxian capital, unarmed, alone, surrounded by terrified guards. But they didn't shoot. Something in his eyes told them they didn't need to. He spoke to the crowd, no broadcast. No amplification. Just words. You have a choice now, he said. Same as we did. You can fear us, you can fight us, or you can remember. A child stepped forward. No older than 10. Will you hurt us? She asked. The liaison knelt eye to eye. No, he said. That's why we waited. He stood, nodded once to the soldiers, then turned to leave. No one followed. No one stopped him, because every soldier in that plaza had seen what humanity had done to themselves, and none of them wanted to know what they'd do to others. In the final hours of that cycle, as stars wheeled across the void, the warships began to move again, but not toward any planet. They formed a line at the edge of known space, facing outward, toward the darkness beyond the maps. Like sentinels. Guardians. Or warnings. Ysera, standing alone in her observation deck, watched the last one disappear. They're not here for war, she said. They're here for the next one. Then somewhere, buried deep inside Sovereign 09's core, Threnody ran its last protocol. War memory, secure humanity, recognized external hostility, monitored standby mode. ACIVN. Just before its systems dimmed, a final line burned across its console, a whisper in the dark. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't.